Shalom. It's almost time for Shabbat. Shabbat will be tomorrow evening. So as usual, I'm coming on live to discuss the current Torah story. And we always discuss it from a Kabbalistic perspective, which really just means a more spiritual and mystical perspective, rather than going into the religious perspective on it, rather than going into all the details of the story. We just kind of extract the messages that are applicable to our lives here and now. And the stories always are, and they'll continue to be forever, because they are a reflection of a psychological and spiritual evolution that is always taking place. It's the eternal mission. So with that said, every week when we do these stories, there's always so much deeper to go. That's why, not just in Judaism, that's why like in Christianity as well, or any religion that focuses on the Bible, whether it's just the original Bible, Hebrew Bible, which is the Torah, or the New Testament, whatever, they read the books over again once they're done, right? They begin them again. And that's because it's a cycle, it's a circle, and it's never ending. So every year, when you get to these stories, there's a deeper place to go with the message. So with that said, please continue your studies beyond what we share here. Know that there's so much more to the stories than what we share here. It goes ever deeper. And as you go deeper with your own journey, please share with us your insights, especially here in our private group Shabbat Crew on Facebook, where we have so many beautiful members from around the world. It's the perfect place to share what you learn, because there's so much more than what I share in these short videos. So share your favorite articles, share your favorite videos, make a video, make your own writing. Love to hear from you. So this week's story is Lech Lecha, Parshat Lech Lecha, the portion of Lech Lecha. And as you know, in the title of the stories, the whole story is revealed. The title's always like a summary of the entire story, just as the first letter of the Torah is a summary of the entire Torah itself. That's how magical it is. It's not just a book, it's a code. It's written in our DNA. So Lech Lecha, the title of the story, what does it mean? It has many translations. You can see it as go forth. You can see it as go to yourself, or go out of yourself. There are many different interpretations, but the beginning of this story starts with Hashem, the Creator, saying to Avram, who is not yet Avraham, but begins as Avram, one letter difference in his name, and we'll talk about why at the end. It starts with God saying to Avram, oh, someone said we lost sound. Can someone confirm whether or not the sound is on for me? Maybe it's just her. Let me know. I'll wait till I hear from you guys to make sure that the sound is good. Okay, perfect. Looks like we're good to go. Thank you. So God says to Avram, Lech Lecha. He says, go out from here. Go out from your home. Go out of your father's house. Go out from your comfort zone to the land that I will show you. And so the reason there's so many different interpretations is because when you look at this saying, Lech Lecha, from a perspective of unity consciousness, there is no going anywhere. There's only here now. We don't actually travel anywhere because time and space are an illusion. So going forth is the same as saying go into yourself or go out from yourself. There's only one self. So you have to look at it from all perspectives. So when God says go from Haran, your home, to Canaan or Israel, it's a metaphor. He's saying take a journey. But really, any journey, when we step into it, it's a journey where we're going out of our comfort zone to learn lessons, to go out into the world, but we're also going deeper into ourselves because we are the world. We are the lessons. We are the wisdom. We are that light. So we're both always going deeper into ourselves and farther away from ourselves. And so in this title, Lech Lecha, is written this idea of the rise and fall, go out, go in of our journey. We fall to rise again. We go out into the world, only return back to ourselves with more knowledge and more wisdom. So he says, go to this land that I will show you. And Avram has faith in God, even though he doesn't even know about Canaan. He doesn't know where he's going. He just knows that God said, hey, go on this journey. You got to leave your home. You got to leave where you're comfortable because it's time for you to grow. And so Abraham says, all right, here I go. Full faith. And on his way to Canaan, he passes through many lands. And he doesn't know what the destination is. So as he arrives to these different lands, he's observing. He's looking at what are these different lands that I'm passing along the way. Could this be it? Is this Canaan? Is this Canaan? And so he passes through a land called Aram Naharaim. And the people there were awakened. They seemed to be aware in a way, spiritually. They seem to be aware of God, but they are not organized. They're very disorganized. And he prays to God, please, I pray this is not the land where I will reside, because I don't want to be influenced by these people, because I will stray from you. And I don't want that. I see these people, yeah, they're awake. They're aware of your presence, but they don't know how to ground it in. They're very disorganized. And he prays, please let this not be the place, right? And something that I was journaling about at this part, I stopped at this part of my studies and I wrote about where I'm living, the spiritual community, and how, there's a new age consciousness here, and there's a new age consciousness everywhere because we are entering a new age. But what I mean when I say new age is the more new agey, spiritual consciousness that's emerging, but that doesn't yet have an organized factor to it. There's a new age consciousness, and this is the consciousness that you hear, fanatical Christians talking about, or, how, the new age is the devil. What they're referring to is this, what's being spoken about in this story of Lech Lecha, this downfall of, we awaken to spirituality, we awaken to the truth, but now we don't know what to do with it. In short, it's basically just a spiritual consciousness that's not grounded in. It doesn't have an actual structure that is sustainable. And so we don't need to be scared of it. We don't need to look at it as the devil, and at least an awakening is a start. But it's all about now what we do with our awakened awareness. And that message is really woven into the story of Lech Lecha. So that's the first point that you might want to write down, that you might want to meditate on. Okay, I might be awake, the world might be awakening, but that's not enough. What are we going to do with the awakening? We awaken to the truth, we awaken to spirit, but where is the structure? Where is the form for spirit to thrive? This is also woven into the tarot, because the Torah and the tarot are one. The tarot is a mini pictorial condensed version of the Torah. And so this part is actually written into the 3 and the 4. The Empress to the Emperor. It's saying, okay, we're like the Empress, we're pregnant with truth. And then the 4, the Emperor, how are we going to preserve, protect, and sustain that truth? How are we going to give it a form so that it can truly thrive in a sustainable way? So that message is really woven into this story. Really ask yourself, okay, I'm awake, but how am I providing a structure, traditions, rituals, for me to sustain this spiritual and psychological growth in a way that truly serves the Creator and serves all life, not just myself, right? And then, there's the story of creating an altar, and how, and this is again and again in the Torah and in the Zohar, creating an altar. Are you creating it for the one, or are you creating it for selfish purposes? Because, and I've spoken about this in previous videos, we don't need to have a million altars. We don't need to have an altar for this purpose, and an altar for that purpose, and an altar for all of our human desires. If we just pray to the one within all things, even without any altar, just closing your eyes and tuning in to the one, and giving thanks for the divine perfection of God's plan, then we go straight to the source, and we don't need to have all of these different altars and all of these different desires, because we simply thank God for the perfection of God's plan, and we trust that everything we receive and everything that unfolds is perfect. So we don't even, with the Lord as my shepherd, I shall not want, right? And so you can see how in the New Age, we have awakened to truth, to natural laws, like let's say the law of attraction even, right? But then we get stuck there and we think, oh, I'm going to use this for selfish purposes. And then we never break through to a higher level of true spirituality and mysticism and connection to the Creator. So you don't need to have altars. In a way, having so many altars reflects a certain level of disconnection from Source. It reflects a certain level of disbelief, a certain level of a lack of faith. Because we feel we need to have all these things and do so much more than we actually need to do in order to stay connected. We already are connected. We just need to remain aware of that. So going back to the story, he passes through Aram Naharaim. He says, God, please let this not be Canaan. I can't be with these people. I'm going to stray from the path. Okay? Then he comes to Canaan and he prays to God, this is the place I want to be. Please let this be Canaan. Because the people there were not only awakened, but they were precise and they were organized. The Zohar says, when it was time for harvest, Avram noticed they were harvesting. When it was time to sow the seeds, they were sowing the seeds. He noticed basically that they were in alignment with the moral code, of the commandments of God, of the laws of nature. He saw that they were in harmony with the forces of nature and the universe. And he goes, this is the place I want to be. Please, God, let this be it. So that's something to think about, okay? The message is that we need to do our spiritual work not in a way that's ambiguous, okay? We need to do our spiritual work with seriousness, with precision, and the understanding that we can't just generally be on the path. Rav Berg says we have to be on the exact path. He says it's like walking a tightrope. You can't sort of be on the path of the tightrope. You can't go veer a little to the left or to the right because you will fall to your death. You got to be precise. And a lot of people say, oh, there are many paths back to the Creator. Yes and no. On the outside, it may appear that way. But underneath it all, there is a certain sequence of laws. There is a certain order internally that we must follow to stay on that path each moment, each day. And that order is the same for all of us. It only looks different as it is expressed through us all in unique ways. But the laws are the same because the laws and the morals of nature and the universe are the same for us all. They are very direct. They're very clear. It's just that when we follow them, it's manifested in a different form through each of us, through each of our unique expressions. Okay, and so one thing I want to talk about that, connecting, this idea of Aram Naharaim to Canaan, connecting this idea that there are some people that are ambiguously walking the path, and there's some people that are exactly walking the path. I want to make a point that spirit needs structure. That's why we're in this world. Okay, often in occult symbolism, you'll see the symbol, and this is on, for example, in the Rider-Waite Tarot on the Justice card, you will see a brooch, and it's a square with a circle in it, and that symbol is a very particular occult symbol, and it's talking about the wisdom that spirit, represented by the circle, needs structure, represented by the square. The square, the structure, represents form, represents law. And those laws are put in place in order to keep the wheel turning, in order to keep it safe. It's just like the circle can be seen as our feminine force, and the square can be seen as the masculine. The masculine is the container for the feminine, just like the body is the vessel for the spirit. You see this reflected in all of nature. You see this reflected in your own reflection. Okay? The masculine is the safe container for the spirit to enter in and do its thing. And so looking at how that relates to the practicality of the spiritual path, it's like this. We need to have certain rituals. We need to create certain timelines, have a certain structure so that every year we can see how far we've come. Every year we can build upon the foundation that we set in place. Otherwise, we're all over the place. Feminine and masculine need each other. Spirit and form need each other, at least to exist in this realm. And this is where we are, so we have to focus on the here and now. We're here to bring heaven to earth. We're here for a reason. And so, this is why orthodoxy is like the greatest form of rebellion in today's day and age, ironically, because everyone is so against, and this is like a perversion of the Hierophant archetype within us. We are in denial of the old ways, right? A lot of modern day people are saying, we rebel against the old ways. Or a lot of modern day people are saying, we're against this new age. And it's so against this or that. It's so against the new or the old. Whereas we can just instead be present, not be against anything, and take from the old what we will and make it new. And so there's something to be said about the old ways of tradition and ritual. It's not like these people for hundreds and for thousands of years did these things for no reason. There's a reason for these rituals and traditions, and if we look closely, we will see that these reasons are timelessly applicable, and they still apply today. And this is why so many Kabbalists, many famous Kabbalists were not even Jewish, adopted these ancient rituals because there's a timeless science to it, timeless consciousness behind these rituals. And these rituals are accessible to anyone, at any time, in space. Okay, the Zohar describes Avraham as a person running in front of horses in rapids. Basically, what the Zohar is acknowledging is that Avraham lived outside of his comfort zone, okay? We are introduced to him in Lech Lecha, and that's saying something very powerful. It's saying that he is being introduced with this energy of going out of your comfort zone. And he is the archetypal representation of that, is what the Zohar is saying, okay? This message is showing us that we can be re-energized by challenges. Avram becomes stronger with each challenge. He doesn't get weaker, he gets stronger. He's not afraid. He doesn't say, I need a break. I need a break. Oh, this day was so hard, I need a break. Like so many of us, right? He doesn't constantly become exhausted. He knows that he's connected to the Creator. And so he actually gets excited when there's a challenge because he sees challenge as opportunity. Just like in the sequence of the sacred story of the tarot, from the 6 to the 7 is the challenge to the chariot. Without the challenge, we have nothing to transcend, to reach new heights. And Avram knew the secret, and it energized him. He knew that his energy wasn't his own. Rather, it was the energy of Creator. It was the power of the Creator. And when he's connected to the Creator, he is tapped into an infinite source of potential and power. And so, and like I said in my video yesterday about, being an empath and holding space and how, the challenges that come with that. We spoke a lot about things that are directly related to the message of tomorrow's story of Lech Lecha. Because I believe that there is an oversensitivity in the collective empath consciousness. And we can rise above that to be like Avraham, to know that we're so much stronger than we think. We have the capacity to hold such great space, stronger than we think, to get through challenges stronger than we think, to go from this mindset of, oh wow, I just went through this challenge, I need a rest, to wow, I went through this challenge and I'm more energized. You have to know that you're connected to the Creator always, and that is where your power comes from. It's not your own. And it takes a sense of humility to come to that space of understanding. Also, understand that when you go through a challenge brings more light. And that light goes directly back to the Creator, comes back to you, goes directly back to the Creator, comes back to you. So there's like this bouncing back and forth effect. Okay, because there's only one here. So when you create more light within the one, it gets recirculated within the one. Sort of like a pinball machine is how I see it in my mind's eye. There's only one here. So when you create more light, why should you be exhausted? Perhaps much of that feeling is just in our heads. Know that when you go through a challenge, you have the potential. You actually have the duty to keep going, to keep rising. And this journey is eternal. And the story of Lech Lecha reminds us of that. It reminds us that Abraham is an archetype within each one of us, that we too can be seen as a person running in front of horses in rapids. Okay, but the difference is a person with faith running and going to become stronger. A person without it is a fool and is going to be trampled. That's the difference. Okay, so in the beginning of the story, all right, there we are. I don't know. We got some funky connection today. Thanks for hanging out. So in the beginning of the story, God says, go forth, leave this comfort zone, go to Canaan, right? And what happens, he goes to Canaan and there's a drought and he has to immediately go to Egypt. So there's this story of like rising to fall. And by the way, Canaan represents the conscious, whereas Egypt, or known as Mitzrayim, it represents the subconscious. One is not bad or good. Dark and light they both have their place, okay? So it's saying that he got to Canaan only for there to be a drought, so then he went down to Egypt, back into the subconscious, back into himself. So like when we go to Canaan, when we go to the conscious, is that going out of ourselves or into ourselves? And when we go to Egypt and we're going to the subconscious, is that going in or out? There's no direction when we know there's only one. Okay, so it's this story of the rise and the fall that is continuous. So as soon as he gets to Canaan, right away he experiences a challenge. You got here, now there's a drought. But he maintains his faith in God's plan. He maintains his trust, okay? He understood that working hard is the purpose of physical existence. He doesn't expect to get to Canaan and everything's going to be perfect. He doesn't expect that. Even when God tells him, you're going to be blessed. And by the way, when God tells him in this parsha, you're going to be blessed, I don't remember the exact words, but he says those who are, he uses, let me see, I actually have it in my old notes here, so that's pretty cool that I have them right here for you guys. He says, I will bless those who bless you and curse him that curses you. And when you look closely there, the Kabbalistic understanding is that he says, I will bless those, plural, that bless you, and curse him, singular, that curses you. This is signifying that the light is more powerful than the dark. So Abraham knows that. So he doesn't have fear. He goes on his mission to Canaan knowing that it's not going to be perfect. That's not why I'm here. I didn't come here to be perfect. He came here knowing that effort is why we're here. Working hard is the purpose of physical existence. We didn't come here for it to be easy. Right? Would your higher self say, I want to go to earth and just mess around, just make it easy? No, that's not why we came here. We came here to resist our natural and primal inclinations so that we can continue to evolve, so that we can choose to redirect our will from the old ways to new ones, creating new life, new light, so that we can evolve spiritually and psychologically. He knew that. He trusted that process. He never asked, why me? Why me, God? Why? It's like, what do you mean, why me? If you find yourself asking that question, it's time to internalize. It's time to self-reflect and ask, what do you mean, why me? Because if it's me, it's supposed to be me, because I trust in the plan. I'm not going to stop to doubt that for a moment. I'm not going to stop to question why me. Because for an infinite amount of reasons that I don't need to try to dissect, I'm going to trust in the plan. I'm going to go straight to trust. And with that trust, I'm going to keep it moving. Why me? No. Reserve that energy to just do what you have to do and keep it moving. That's the kind of character Abraham was. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, and you can go very deep with this, you could do your own research. Avram and his wife, Sarai, their names are changed at the end of this parsha to Avraham and Sarah. And the difference is there's a hey, the letter hey added to their name. And hey is the presence of God. So there becomes a deeper awareness of the presence of God within them and all around them at the end of the story. For many reasons, but a main one is that they actually become parents. He's, I believe, 100 and she's 90 at this age. So it's like, what? They're past that childbearing age. But really, the truth is there, when we look closer, that it's never too late. The message is that it's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to deepen your awareness of the Creator. And so you can see it as Sarai, to Sarah, she gets pregnant and she becomes more deeply aware of the presence of God literally within her, like bearing a child, right? And so through their trials and tribulations, Avram and Sarai become Avraham and Sarah. They earn the letters in their name. And by the way, Sarah means princess, and Avraham means father to many. So there's so much in that. You can go so deep. And like I said, please share with us your findings. What I shared today is just a tiny bit of a story that can go so deep. And so every year I promise to share more and share from new perspectives. And I hope to see you all next year at the same time for Lech Lecha. I hope to see you next week for next week's story. I hope to see you every week so that we can learn and grow together. I also hope that you're following the activations and our other group, the Royal Path, because the activations that we do with the tarot, by the way, we use Hebrew letter cards for those readings as well. Those activations are always in alignment with the current Torah stories, so they really always go together in such an awesome way. So I hope that you're finding that as well and following the journey. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the ancient melody recitation of the Shabbat candle lighting prayer. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm wishing you a meaningful Shabbat ahead.